We've all been there, standing at a crossroads, facing a decision. Sometimes the right choice is crystal clear. Other times the path is murky. Why do we make choices that seem like the worst options? The answer is complex. It's a tapestry woven from our psychology and environment. Our minds are powerful, yet flawed. We are susceptible to cognitive biases. These are mental shortcuts that can lead us astray. For example, confirmation bias makes us favor information that confirms what we already believe. Availability bias makes us overestimate the likelihood of events that easily come to mind. Our emotional state also plays a huge role. When we are flooded with anxiety or anger, our choices often reflect that turmoil. Self-control can crumble in the face of intense emotions. If we haven't learned healthy coping mechanisms, we're more likely to make impulsive choices that we later regret. Our upbringing leaves an undeniable mark on our decision-making. If we grew up in an environment where risky behavior was the norm, we may be more likely to repeat those patterns. On the other hand, if we were raised with clear boundaries and healthy coping skills, we may approach choices with more caution and consideration. Low self-esteem can also contribute to poor choices. When we don't believe in ourselves, we're more likely to settle for less than we deserve. This can manifest in unhealthy relationships, risky behaviors, or a general lack of self-care. Impulsivity is another factor. Some people are naturally more impulsive than others. This isn't inherently bad, but it can be problematic if we don't develop the self-awareness to manage those impulses. Learning to pause, reflect, and consider the potential consequences of our actions is crucial. Our social circles exert a powerful influence on our choices. Peer pressure is a well-known phenomenon, particularly during adolescence. The desire to fit in, to be accepted, can lead us to make choices that go against our better judgment. Cultural norms also play a role. What is considered acceptable behavior varies widely across cultures. What might be seen as a harmless choice in one culture could be viewed as highly inappropriate in another. Socioeconomic factors cannot be ignored. Poverty, lack of education, and limited access to resources can create a perfect storm for poor decision-making. When basic needs are not met, survival becomes the primary focus, and long-term planning can feel like an impossible luxury. Shadows of the past, generational patterns, and moral dilemmas. Sometimes it can feel like we're caught in a web of poor choices that stretch back generations. These patterns often reflect deeply ingrained cycles of trauma and dysfunction. In a world of shifting values, navigating ethical dilemmas is challenging. This internal conflict can lead to paralysis or impulsive choices. Breaking free. From habits to empowerment. The good news is that we are not destined to repeat the mistakes of the past. We have the power to make different choices. It starts with self-awareness. We need to understand our triggers, our patterns, and the underlying reasons behind our less-than-ideal decisions. Education is key. The more we learn about ourselves, the better equipped we are to make choices that align with our values. This includes learning about cognitive biases, emotional regulation techniques, and healthy coping mechanisms. Empowerment is essential. We need to believe that we are worthy of making good choices and creating a better life for ourselves. This often involves breaking free from toxic relationships, setting healthy boundaries, and prioritizing our own well-being. Choosing wisely. A path to better decisions. The path to making better choices is not always easy. It requires courage, vulnerability, and a willingness to confront our own shadows. But the rewards are immeasurable. We can choose to seek therapy or counseling to address deep-seated trauma or negative thought patterns. We can surround ourselves with supportive people who uplift and inspire us. We can cultivate self-compassion and recognize that making mistakes is part of being human. Most importantly, we can choose to approach each decision with intention. We can pause, reflect, and ask ourselves, what choice will lead me closer to the life I want to live? The answer might not always be easy, but it will always be worth the effort.